All right, we are live for the Tuesday morning check-in, and hopefully this flows better. Forgive me, technical issues, but then again, I like to make sure I'm in the flow of things so I can deliver this information in a short and concise manner. But here we are. I'm going to make this work as best I can. Let's make sure everything is running smoothly, and then we're going to make it work, man. Hope everyone's doing well. Let me know where you guys are watching from. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if everything is coming in clearly so that we can make this work. And as always, it's just, there's always something. But then again, let's make the most of it, man. Anyway, I'm going to make this a good morning. Just hate getting my day started off this way. But anyway, welcome to the live stream. My name is Mike, the host of the Morning Check-In. And as always, looking forward to connecting. And yeah, I have interesting subjects in front of me in reference to the current state of the economy, the real economy, not the mainstream, lamestream narrative that they want to us to believe. And of course, if you guys have been paying attention, which I know you have, then you know what's really at stake here. But as I mentioned before, several months ago, it's becoming harder to, I guess, fudge the numbers and to hide the data that even they use to continue to paint a very rosy and peachy picture of the economy. So got a couple headlines here worth bringing to your attention, and then want to get your thoughts on a variety of things. And also, just in reference to the financial markets, especially the crypto space, very alarming, concerning narrative that is becoming more prominent. So I'm going to share with you some videos that should really get my believers out there continue to question things. Anyway, so let's get into it, man. Wow. Hope everyone is having a good day. Let me know where you're watching from, as well as if you're watching a replay. Definitely leave a comment in the chat, or leave a comment in the description or whatever. Yeah, I need to calm down. I'm everywhere right now. Okay. So for those who are plugging in, man, appreciate you for blessing with your presence. And my screen is lagging, and yeah, it's makes things challenging, but I want to continue to press on, man. All right, once I get everything. Yeah. Glitchiness of software. Not sure what's up with this. Oh, look at this. Okay, let me get right into it, man, because I apologize. Man, this is not the type of presentation I would like to have, but then again, post make fake stimulus, what we got here. So, all right, man. Oh my goodness. Get me started off on the wrong foot this morning, but bear with me. Okay, let's make sure everything's running smoothly, man. Let me check and make sure I'm clicking on all cylinders before I dive into today's live talk. Want to make sure it's flowing, man. Okay, so I'm not gonna waste any more time. Let's jump right into it. A lot of headlines caught my attention, things I wanted to bring to your attention, get your thoughts on everything. And as I was looking, it looks like, of course, the silver market or metals market in general has, I guess, is facing a little backwardation pressure, or whatever you want to call it, in reference to the price uh, having broken the $30 mark for silver. And so once again, manipulation could be your friends. And so it looks like, as of now, it's still early, they were able to slam the markets a little bit. So I want to jump right into it, and let's get right into the nitty gritty, man. Let me just bring things on my screen here, and then we'll jump right into it. Let me refresh this, and we'll keep it going. All right. So because I'm thrown off, I'm just going to jump right into it. I don't have time to waste. I want to make sure I can deliver value to you guys. So let's jump into it. So let's look right into prices of metals, man. So okay. So on my screen here, as we can see, current price action of metals at this current moment. And of course, it's still early. Markets is opening, and we have 6 hours until it closes. But it says gold at 23.18 and silver 29.49. And so the last week or two, especially, we've been talking about the $30 mark and how it was pivotal, and it could have been the new floor that was established based upon a pressure from out east with the continued physical spot delivery price. And it looks like the manipulators have been able to break it thus far. So it's still early, but just something worth keeping our eyes on, because as always, they are able to manage a way of manipulating things. So let me zoom in here so you guys can see what I see here. So as of now, this is what we have. So literally, from the looks of it, the market's opened around $30 at the top. It was about $30 or so, give or take. And shortly thereafter, at 9:01, it took a dip, recovered slightly to $29.99, And then, of course, it fell off the cliff, and here we are now at 29.50-ish. So, yeah, it's the hunt to destroy the paper price of silver is still on. So it just lets me know how much of a focal point this is for the establishment, for the banking cartel, that this is real. Like, they don't want that $30 floor to remain, so they smashed it. So keep it moving. But anyway, there's opportunities as always to present, to get your weight up. And so definitely hope you guys take advantage of the opportunity to do that. So, all right, keeping it moving. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Looks like I might be lagging a little bit, but we will make the most of it. A good opportunity to stack 100%. Okay. Man, I'm off centered a little bit because of the early technical issues. But here we have the gold to silver ratio. And so we saw when the silver was above $30 and gold was fluctuating around 23.50-ish, give or take, the gold to silver ratio was coming down over the last couple of months, couple of weeks. And so it looks like it bottomed probably last week when it was $30 an ounce, $30 plus an ounce at 73 ounces for 73 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. And because of this floor, or the floor breaking of $30, it looks like at this current moment we're back at 28, 29. So it's trending upwards, basically meaning that silver silver is more valuable in a sense, or you get more ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold based upon the manipulation price. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, keeping it moving. Yeah, I'm everywhere today. Man, I got to get myself settled. Man, I don't like this. I feel like I'm rattled a little bit. Okay. He says, why is China buying so much gold? Big Bustard says, why is China buying so much gold? Clearly, we have 4 or 5 different, ideas that we are all speculating on. Nothing's official as of yet, but yet, based upon historical trends, wherever gold flows, there's also the power flows as well. So whoever owns the most gold tend to call the shots. And so with all the price pressure from the East on accumulating physical gold, it lets us know that gold is a part of someone's equation, even if it's not the U.S.'s plan to incorporate it back into the system. And of course, they can't do that because that will put a stranglehold on them and completely divert all the plans they have towards taking us towards a digital world solely. So that's, one of the many reasons why, I'm sure. Okay, let me keep it moving. Okay. Let's get into some headlines. So I was going to go through the market activity. Yeah, but it threw me off a little bit. So at this current moment, let me just share with you current, because I was looking at the futures before the markets opened, and I saw there was a lot of concern there. So as of right now, let me refresh the screen here, and then we'll get into some headlines that I want to really focus on this morning. All right. So here we have, once it pops up on my screen, things are lagging. Forgive me. But yeah, as you can see here, S&P 500, where we stand at this current moment, based upon what is being painted as the most important companies that is propping up this narrative of the economy being sound, solid, or whatever. And of course, it's the FANG stock. So the biggest blocks above my head are the companies that are propping this thing up. And as of right now, as I speak, price pressure on them, their share prices is not doing too well. And so I'm not sure exactly what news is broke or what might be happening right now. But once again, the markets are opening in an unfavorable way for the big 7. Wherever the big 7 goes, the financial sector goes, and then the bankings follow and everything else. So just something worth keeping an eye on. And then if that wasn't enough, here is another way of gauging sector performance. And so this is from Bloomberg, and I came across this morning as a good way of just keeping track of activity in the various sectors. And as you can see, as I speak at this current moment, all sectors are down almost, a 0.25%. And so if you look at how this index is set up, these are all the key metrics and tools that the system uses as a gauge and a guide for market activity. And when you see all this red, of course, it's early morning. Things are subject to change. And of course, the powers that are at work, they have a lot to do today to get these back in the green and keep confidence moving forward. But as you can see here, it fluctuates throughout the day. And so as of right now, consumer staples, if I click on this, it consists of food, beverages, tobacco, looks like healthcare. No. Let me see what else is. Okay, it's food and beverages. We have food staples, retail. We have household and personal products are in the green at this current moment. if I go back here, some other things that are in the red. We have industrials is in the red. We have communication services in the red. Consumer discretionary is in the red. We have energy is in the red. Utilities, materials, IT, and last, the financial sector. So, yeah, all in all, not a good morning for the financial sector. So I'm sure a lot of people might be looking at this and trying to figure out what's going on. But these are indicators that we can use as gauges for the day-to-day activity. But to keep it moving, let's get into the primary subject matter of what really matters most in reference to Main Street or the main economy, which happens to be those on the outside looking in as to what's happening inside the inner circle amongst Wall Street and all their cohorts. But real quick here, interesting headlines that caught my attention. I thought it was worth sharing. It says 2/3 of middle-class Americans face hardship in this recent poll. And so this came out 3 hours ago. And I'll just read through this a little bit. And it's one of those things where I don't consider this like, Mike, always talk about doom and gloom. Like this is like, the real state of the economy. And I'm not sure who's tuning in, if you might be new to the channel or not. But then again, all it takes is that one person to get some form of real talk or what I consider to be truth that really gets them to thinking so that they can reassess their involvement in this current economy and begin to do some things that's will be considered unconventional in reference to taking responsibility for themselves, first and foremost, not relying upon governments to tell them that the economy's strong, you're going to be fine, trust us, or having a president or a presidential candidate on either party lying to them continuously, saying that, if you vote for me, I can do this for you. It's not happening that way. A president don't control the financial markets or the monetary system. It's all being done behind the closed doors, and they're just front men that gives a narrative that then keeps confidence in the people, with the people. So real quick here, let me make sure everything's going smooth here. So just laying out all the information to come across my desk that's worth bringing to your attention. And then, of course, getting into some strategies, some solutions at the end of this live stream. So let's get into it, man. So real quick, I'm going to read through this and go through it. So almost 2/3 of Americans consider middle class said that they are facing economic hardship and don't anticipate a change for the rest of their lives. Think about that. Like they don't anticipate a change for the rest of their lives, according to a poll commissioned by the National True Cost of Living Coalition. It says, by many traditional measures, the U.S. economy is strong, with robust labor, housing, and stock markets, as well as a solid gross domestic product growth. So literally, think about this. They just listed off some metrics that over the last several weeks, I, as well as other alternative media commentators, have all given you stats. And I'm about to give you some more graphs to show that those are lies. Those graphs and stats are lies. So the economy is strong. Robust labor force. Layoffs is going through the wazoo. Housing and stock markets. Stock market, inflated bubble. Housing market, depending on which sector you're in, it's cooling off for some. I actually got a friend of mine who's putting their house on the market. It's been listed for 90 days because, just in that location, the price is just not what people want, especially at these current interest rates. And then we have, as well as a solid gross domestic product growth. GDP over the last several months, as we've pointed out, is being reforecast, or the forecasts are come out high, but when they reevaluate it or reassess, they're always downgraded. Okay. So just, let you know, I'm trying to counter the mainstream narratives with real talk is what I call it. But it says but the data don't capture the financial insecurity of millions of households who worry about their future and are unable to save, according to the group created this year to come up with the cost of living tools that help gauge economic well-being. So here we have, in the large poll of 2,500 adults, 2,500 people, is no comparison to 300 something million. But then again, out of that 300 something million, the smallest portion, maybe 100, will be considered labeled the working class, because we have maybe 50 million or so that's low income on government subsidies. Then you have 74 million or so that's retired. So that just leaves us with the working class, which this may not be the best presentation, but just to let you know how uncomfortable it is for a portion of society, I think this metrics here can suffice. But real quick here, it says, out of 2,500 adults, 65% of people who earn more than 200% of the federal poverty level, That's at least $60,000 for a family of four, often considered middle class, say they are struggling financially. So 65% of people who make more than 200% of the federal poverty level, which is labeled as $60,000, say that they are struggling financially. So think about that. $60,000 is the floor of which of household of four making above that, they say they're struggling. So if you factor in everybody who's making beneath that, just I guess imagine what type of conditions they may be experiencing, where everybody's living standard is different than next man. But regardless of that, the consumer prices around each and every one of us and whatever you're looking to purchase and acquire to sustain your life is trickling upward. So everyone is making decisions to either dial back on something or readjust or reassess their own grocery baskets or luxuries or toys or things that they normally would do if the environment was regular. So in some form or fashion, this type of narrative is impacting everybody. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. Just want to share with you some headlines here. It says, overall, regardless of the income level, among 6 of 10 respondents feel that they are currently financially struggling. It says the economy, this is a quote from somebody, says the economy is booming, and yet Americans are still gasping for financial air. It says about 40% of respondents were unable to plan beyond their next paycheck, and 46 didn't have $500 saved. 40% can't plan beyond the next paycheck, and 46% don't have $500 saved. Yeah. It says the February poll found that more than half said it is at least somewhat difficult to manage current levels of debt. And unfortunately, a lot of these people are probably still swiping their credit cards as a way of substituting unearned income that does not there or whatever. So, yeah, man, this is real life. So the responses on savings also show wide disparities. About 1 in 5 respondents have at least $10,000 saved, but 28% have no savings at all. Overall, 1 in 6 said that they have to make tough decisions on which bill to pay first on a regular basis. So, once again, like these stats here, based upon the survey of 2,500 people, small percentage of the overall populace, but very telling as to what is unfolding in the mainstream economy, in the real economy, barring all these fake stats and everything we're given that people just completely you can't believe what one iota of it. Okay, so let's get into some more metrics that are being used to share with the public the real state of the economy. And so here is something that caught my attention from Lisa Abramowitz, someone who is in the space and that I follow regularly because she does a good job of posting stats and facts in real time. So she's in the financial world, which is someone worth following. And so let me share with you. So just, give you a bit of her background. She's the co-host of Bloomberg Surveillance. Has over 300,000 followers on Twitter. So she posts some very interesting things. And so this is what came out this morning, a couple hours ago. It says the Bloomberg U.S. Economic Surprise Index is about most negative since 2019. So if you actually zoom in here, I think it's 2021. So assuming this metric here, so in reference to what she's talking about, like we're right here. And so this is the most negative since 2021, if you looked at the graph here, but could be a typo or not, but we'll run with it. But it just shows how, yeah, it's not doing well. The surprise index, it says DB's Jim Reed, it says yesterday's ISM manufacturing report, quote, was definitely one that dampened optimism about the state of the U.S. economy right now, and it follows a run of weaker U.S. data over recent days. And so from that video I did last night about the PMI, showing how the economy or the manufacturing survey is contracting steadily over the last several months is of concern. And then here's a little bit of input people decide to put in there to show what else is happening out here. It says, this is from Global Markets Investment. It says, in the U.S. economy, is the U.S. economy falling into a recession? Question mark. Of course, you guys know we already been in one for quite some time now. Okay, but once again, it's not about the narrative for Main Street. It's about keeping it's about the narrative for Wall Street that comes through Wall Street for the people, not the narrative that comes from the alternative media to the Main Street that matters in this regard here. But it says here's some of this metrics. It says GDP growth slowed to 1.3% in Q1, 37 months of inflation above 3%, $2 trillion deficit, 34.6 trillion national debt is a record, 600 full-time jobs lost in the last 12 months, and a terrible housing market. That's his take on this post that she put out there. And then here's another one that's worth bringing to your attention from Andrea, whatever, CFA. It says the economic data in the U.S. have been very soft over the last months, and this week's jobs data might move markets. It says in the meantime, the Bloomberg Economic Surprise Index is rapidly plunging to a level not seen since 2019. Then he goes on to say, it's all about employment now. It says if companies hold on to workers, the U.S. economy can chug along. But if the unemployment rates spike, the U.S. consumer will rapidly retrench and the economy will slow down non-linearly, like in every other recession. It says there are two potential scenarios for the U.S. economy, a hard landing, or as I call a crash and burn scenario, characterized by a sudden and severe economic downturn, or a no landing scenario where the economy manages to maintain a stable course. Soft landings, I believe, are unlikely in this economic climate. Then he shows here below how the ISM manufacturing is below the 50 threshold, which are some key indicators to show you how things are really slowing down. So just some graphs here for some people who follow the market and people who are, I would consider, credible sources of information, given the fact that they are in the financial world directly, managing and helping other people manage their funds. So once again, once they're concerned, saying things are slowing down severely, yeah, it's hard to really paint a rosy picture with those stats there. But it doesn't stop there. Let me just share with you, for those who may not have watched the video I put out yesterday, and also for those who are plugged in, let me know your thoughts on the little short synopsis that I do of relevant stories, because I try to make them short, concise, straight to the point, and give you guys something just to consider about the real Main Street economy, as I refer to it. But this is from yesterday with the Chicago PMI, and based upon the last several months, based upon history, if history is any indicator, as we can see above my head, every time there's a complete drop in the PMI figures, it's followed by a major economic contraction, i.e. a recession. So just real quick here, share with you the current data that came out. So here we have, let me get this right, above my head here, if I can. So these are yesterday's figures, or the figures that came out a couple days ago. It says, as of right now, it fell off the cliff, and 50 is the healthy line. It's at 35.4. The last time it was this low was the 15 days of slow to spread narrative right here. And then when you go back here even further, the Great Recession, we saw that this boy fell off the cliff, and at the same time, we were in a recession well before it's officially announced. So as I mentioned, it's only 200 plus days after the key indicators signal or flash red or fall off a cliff that they decide to announce it. And by that time, we're already in trouble. It's common knowledge at that point, because the stock market responded, and then usually the monetary policies are now being implemented, and then they say it's a recession. But just showing you how 2000, the .com, then we go back to 87-ish time frame, the result of that. Then we go back here to the 1980s time frame, to over my shoulder here. So where we at? Over here. So yeah, so these are some graphs that are just worth keeping an eye on, because what will they do? How will they respond? How will the government try to create a narrative, especially heading to this presidential election, as to how they can prop things up for as long as they can? And then what will be the monetary response? What would Jerome Powell do, if they can do anything? And the only thing they can really do to reinflate these bubbles, to send these direct graphs back up, is literally to cut rates or to begin outright QE. And so I doubt they do it that easily, just because it's too predictable. I think what they're going to try to do is something that will catch everybody by surprise, and it's going to be some more monetary manipulation on the back end, or the creation of a new tool that can be used to support a certain sector. Because as I mentioned, for those who might come in late, if we go back and look at the current health as of today of key sectors in our economy, as of right now, if IT tanks, which is NVIDIA and all the big seven for the most part, then all of this just going to come down like a house of cards, a stack of dominoes. And so what will they do? we're going to find out. But the most important question is, if you see all this happening on the surface, hopefully you're doing something unconventional to combat this, because you won't get any help from your financial advisor. This is all my opinion. Your financial advisor won't pivot in no way that will be out of the norm, that will hinder their pockets, because once again, they want to make sure that they get their commission for placing you in strategically in these products that they're trying to sell. And then also, any type of company that has a promise to you to pay you a certain amount of money, whether it be a fixed income, government debt, or whatever, once again, it all has to do with operations flowing smoothly, i.e., meaning they have employees to produce goods and services that's delivered to the market. And at the end of the market, you have a consumer. And so if the consumer isn't there, jobs won't be there, labor won't be there, companies won't be there. So all that stuff is interconnected. So these are just things worth keeping an eye on. Okay, but it doesn't stop there. I have more to share with you guys. Let me just move some stuff around here, and then we'll get into it. So here is let me make sure this is what it is. Let me make sure it's what it is. Yeah, okay. So here's just another poll survey. This is, let me bring this on the screen here. It says U.S. economic, and this is from Gallup. U.S. economic confidence dips for a second month in a row. And so here we have more information. Gallup's economic confidence index registered negative 34 this past month, reflecting further deterioration in how Americans assess the economy's current state as well as its trajectory. It says the index has improved significantly from negative 40 in November to negative 20 in March, before falling to negative 29 in April. So here's a little graph to show you what that is about. And so Gallup tend to do pretty solid polls, surveying a much larger sector of the population. But from 2020 to 2024, since we've been in this new economy, this post-COVID, yet beginning of the Great Reset economy, confidence hasn't been great and hasn't recovered whatsoever. So it says here, the economic confidence index summarizes Americans' assessment of current economic conditions, percentage excellent or good, minus percentage poor, and economic outlook, percentage better than whatever. So here is what that looks like. So going back to January 2nd, we were at 40%, and that was, pre-health event that took the world by, no, it didn't take the world by surprise, but caught everybody in the U.S. who's not paying attention to world events by surprise. It was at plus 40%. And ever since then, it has fallen off a cliff and never fully recovered back to zero, meaning that the average person in this country who gauges their spending activity, their saving activity, their investment activity, all their life metrics, including their job security and everything else, has not gone back to normal since then. Everybody in some capacity has been conscious of their living standards, spending habits, or whatever else pertaining to this instrument right here. This bill that was created at a historical rate in 2020 as a result of a health situation has caused everybody to rethink some things. And so just visual aid here just shows what that looks like. So literally, January 2nd, it was 40% overall confidence based upon the metrics they use. It fell off the cliff. By April, once the world locked down, people were working from home and the world was introduced to something completely new. And then it recovered a little bit with the first stimulus check right here. Took a dip. Second stimulus check came. And, so not literally to the day, but this right here, this confidence was boosted by the government injecting trillions into the economy that floated up to the top. The billionaires, Mark Zuckerberg got richer. Bezos got richer. All the billionaires got richer. And of course, there's people in the community, I'm sure, who did quite well as well. And then once the stimulus check stopped, boom, it fell off again. Here we are, June of 2020, negative 58. And that's let me see what happened in June. What was going on in June 22? Oh, all-time high, 40-year inflation. Inflation got up to what? Was it 9% or 10% or whatever it was? And so this graph to me is more realistic in reference to what Main Street is really concerned with, rather than all the narratives that they want to sell us on with these lies. And of course, it's been chucking along ever since, but it has never recovered to pre-pandemic, pre-Great Reset narrative conditions. Another metric. Okay, so with all that mainstream news out the way, let's get into some other topics real quick. Ooh, shoot, give me a second. Didn't mean to do that. Just trying to get rid of some screens here. So this is what's happening in a city near you. And if you're close to New York, this is what the state of New York has allowed to take place that is costing taxpayers a fortune. This is from Mish Talk. It says, it says 1 of every 5 New York City hotels is now a migrant shelter. So here's a little visual aid here highlighting all the hotels. So if I zoom in here, see if I can get a better look. So as you can see here, if you're close to New York or whatever, hotels converted to shelters. So on the screen here, the Manhattan area, Midtown is loaded with migrant shelters, aka hotels, funded by taxpayer dollars. Long Island City, we got Jamaica, Queens, Kennedy Airport. So all these areas are basically headquarters for foreigners that have been allowed to enter our country illegally. And so I can give you more information here, but you get the gist of it. Taxpayers are funding for hotels for migrants, and it's increasing. So it's good to say this is not just in New York. There's other cities, I'm sure. Those sanctuary cities, yeah, gotta love them. All right, what else is happening here? Here's another one that's of concern to a lot of people. Let me zoom in so you can see what I see here, zoom out rather. Another concern on Main Street. You'll own nothing to be happy with it. How do you do that? Home insurance is clobbering consumers, yet it's barely counted as inflation. And it says here, skyrocketing premiums are hitting homeowners hard, but they barely factor into common price measures. So once again, coating the books to suit their interests. You'll never hear about the true cost people experience on the ground when things they matter. Housing, food, and energy, it's not included. But here's some examples of how bad things are in certain areas of the country. It says Holly Lucas estimates that as many as 30 of the 100 houses her real estate team sold in around Jupiter, Florida last year were put on the market because their owners could no longer keep up with skyrocketing home insurance. So it goes on to give some metrics. It says last year premium rates for owner occupied housings were up 11.3% on average nationally, based upon the data from the S&P Global Market Index. So premiums are up 11.3%. But then again, they tell us inflation is only 3%, 3.1, 3.4. Yeah, okay. But then again, everybody's experiencing something different. Keeping it moving. A little geopolitical news here. China eyes closer ties with Turkey to take on global power politics. So it looks like there's a push for Turkey, who's facing pressure on joining the EU. They are also considering joining the BRICS. And more than likely, it's in their best interest to probably join the BRICS because they're more in alignment with how they want this new restructured multipolar world to play out. So it's good to say that, Turkey will probably go east. But then again, these are things happening behind the scenes. You won't hear about on Fox News or whatever. But these are more countries that's joining force against the Western Hemisphere, which will ultimately impact the dollar because these nations are deciding to work on alternatives to our currency. And the more alternatives, the stronger their alliance becomes, the greater the chance of an alternative really impacting the dollar because nations will be forced to make some tough decisions. Do they continue to support U.S. liabilities through bonds, treasuries, and dollars, or do they decide to get gold, minerals, oil, whatever, and price it in something that's more equally suitable for their common interest, if I can put it that way. Okay, so just another story we're paying attention to for those that are interested. Here are some things happening that is worth your attention as well that you won't hear about probably anywhere else outside of mainstream media, alternative media. Biden wants the U.S. government to scan all images on your phone to comply with new AI rules. So this came out last week. Didn't get a chance to talk about it, but does anybody ever wonder why we have been condensed down to just 2 cell phone operating systems, Android and iOS? It doesn't surprise me, but it's a part of the surveillance state where the goal is to corner every single market for the interest of the government to do what they have planned for our future. And so ultimately, it'll probably get some pushback. But then again, Android and iOS, they're already surveillance tools. So they don't really need permission because they already can do it. But anyway, it says a press release from the White House explains the Biden regime's desire for the tech and financial industries to take charge in stopping the creation and spread of abusive sexual imagery created by AI robots. So that's the narrative. We need to make sure that you're not using AI technology to spread sexual content of children and whoever else. So we need a back door to make sure we can see what's on your screens, to scan your computer, which they already do, your phone as well, which they already do. And basically, it's a door opener for a legal framework to prosecute people who are not in alignment with the government's agenda. And they'll use AI and the sexual imagery as a way to make that happen. So these are some things developing behind the scenes that, of course, I'm sure you'll hear more about, or maybe you won't. And then here's another one here. Shout out to my man, Steve, our city community member, who sent this to me about the possibility of a draft where they're going to force young men in our country to serve in the military at some point in the future, perhaps, when they decide to take us to war, because you wouldn't go through all this if there wasn't a war on the books. And so this came out May 22nd, or brought to my attention a couple days ago. Shout out, Steve. Appreciate you. It says lawmakers move to automate selective service registration for all men. It says a new plan from the House lawmakers would automatically register men for a potential military draft. So whenever you see the words potential, that lets us know that somebody's making some plans on the back end because it's a potential idea. When they hit age 18, avoiding potential legal consequences connected to failing to file the paperwork at the proper time. So everybody's supposed to register whatever on average, but people aren't doing that. So if this type of legislation gets passed, everybody will automatically be enrolled. Therefore, when something jumps off, because of course it's going to be U.S. involvement with NATO against Russia, we know how this will play out, then yeah, men will have to be called in. It says language includes House Armed Services Committee's draft of the annual defensive authorization bill would mandate the automatic registration of all males between 18 and 26 living in the Selective Service system. So it says the system hasn't been used for that purpose for 52 years, but men who fail to register can face a host of legal consequences, including forfeiture of eligibility for federal programs and possible jail time. So up to the age of 52, if you haven't registered or don't register or whatever in the past, this type of law hasn't been in place for the last 52 years or been enforced. So we haven't had any real military conflicts that required the military services to go into the populace to get some non-combative individuals to go serve in the military for anything. So yeah, if this hasn't happened in 52 years, that lets me know that they have plans for something coming up where this is necessary to them. So once again, just another thing that's happening on Main Street that you may not hear about anywhere else. And then lastly here, I want to share with you some things that will not be of concern to anybody but me as a skeptic of the whole decentralized push. But as of today, or yesterday rather, Bitcoin billionaire firm to settle DC tax fraud suit for $40 million. So literally, Michael Saylor, the Bitcoin evangelist, has been a naughty boy, and he got a slap on the wrist compared to what Roger Ver, who also was labeled as a tax cheat. He's got sentenced to jail. He's in prison right now in another country, and he denounced his citizenship 10 years ago, and they still came for him. But yet Michael Saylor gets a slap on the wrist. It says billionaire Bitcoin investor Michael Saylor and the software company he founded have agreed to pay $40 million to settle a lawsuit by DC's Attorney General alleging he defrauded the city of millions of taxes by falsely claiming he lived in Virginia or Florida, DC officials said. So once again, this is a very interesting story because it won't hurt MicroStrategy one bit, or Michael Saylor. He's a billionaire. He's fine. $40 million out of slap. It's like literally, it's equivalent to probably, to a billionaire, it's the equivalent of maybe a $40,000 fine. That's what it probably feels like to him. but it doesn't hinder the narrative of Bitcoin must move on. And this is a direct state surveillance state strategy here. Hit him with a fine, show that he's not above the law, but then again, not hinder his growth, because if MicroStrategy as a company, which has up the wazoo in debt for Bitcoin, if they were to sell off drastically and they were forced to sell, they would get if MicroStrategy got liquidated on all that debt they took out and was forced to sell Bitcoin, Bitcoin would tank, and it just really hurt the surveillance state narrative that they need to stay positive and optimistic in order to execute their CBDC narrative. And so it's just interesting to see how Michael Saylor gets away with this with a small fine, where other people who are guilty of the same thing get punished severely. It's just surprising anybody, but it is what it is. And speaking of which, lastly here, because I've been going on for 40 minutes, let me see here what we got. 10. Okay, so this is a late comment. Ed, no devotion. Unfortunately, I'm off track, so I'm not on my normal flow. But I'll definitely get back to that tomorrow. But, of course, hopefully everybody got in their word this morning, got charged up. I know I did. I have a devotion here that I didn't have a chance to get to just because I'm trying to get this done. I'm already over time. But so was all right. Was I at? What else? Okay, lost my thought. Oh, to play more into this current narrative of Bitcoin fixing everything. I pay attention closely because I'm studying this sector as a variety of other things, because I see the fallacy in it. I see the what I consider the cult-like formation of theology and the incorporation of spiritual matters into software, and I see the spirit of error, because I'm witnessing the deliberate infiltration of the principalities and powers from a spiritual standpoint that is causing a lot of people to be led astray. And it doesn't help when you have very influential men that are in positions of authority when it comes to Bitcoin, associating spiritual matters with technology. And what I want to play for you real quick are some things that caught my attention, that just the narratives alone highlight what I'm talking about. Let me hold on. Let me get this right. Let me share myself here. Get my screen together here. I'm sorry. I feel like I was off a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let me share some things with you real quick here. Let me get this on the screen here. So I'm going to play these sound bites, listen to these narratives, and then you let me know if something don't sound spooky with this. Did I freeze myself up? Shoot. Oh, man. Give me a second here. Looks like I'm frozen. Damn it. All right. Give me a second here. I'm frozen on my end. Technical error. Dang. Okay, so I'm frozen, but let me see if I can fix this, which I probably won't. Give me a second here. I'm having some technical issues on my side. Man. All right, bear with me. Give me a second here. I can't see myself. I want to have to try to reload this. All right, so hopefully I'm back on screen. Let me know. Okay, so I'm back on screen. Man. Okay, so let me bit by bit. I'm going to share a video with you, and just listen to let's listen to the narrative that's being set, and how how the person is comparing spiritual matters with software. Just listen to this.
Now God comes down from heaven above, and God says, okay, I've decided to solve your problem. I'm going to run a bank in heaven. I'm going to issue 21 million God coins, and they're infinitely dividable. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this for you for just about nothing. And you can telepathically move the coins between each other to pay off your debts. And I'm going to make sure that no bank, no government, no counterparty, no country, no criminal takes your money away from you. And I promise never to inflate it. I'm just going to, so there's your money. There's your bank. It's a bank in heaven. right? And a person can hold a gun to your head, but you've got the money in your head, and the angels will, protect you. They might murder you, but they're not getting your money. So if I thought about that, I'm thinking, okay, God is going to run an honest bank for me. Okay, good. That's probably good. But in the absence of God offering to run the bank, and protect your property rights forever from everybody, the next best idea is we create a piece of software using cryptography.
All right, so there you have the very first clip here. Michael Saylor in the most recent podcast. And you got them people, those two gentlemen there, big, crypto, or they're big alternative media / financial channels interviewing Michael Saylor. And they're sitting there like captivated, like, wow. Like, I'm thinking, like, what's going through their head when he's talking about God being a bank for him in heaven with software and just all that. Is like the fact that people are captivated by this type of talk is spooky, because I'm seeing this more and more and more, incorporating eternal, biblical, spiritual principles centered around God, which is heresy. It's like it's blasphemous in a sense, because how dare you associate Bitcoin, computer software by man, with the divine eternal presence of our living creator and source of existence? Like, spooky. But that's not the only one. Here's another one. Let me share this one with you. This is another spooky one, and this, once again. So listen to this one.
Bitcoin is the great equalizer in many ways, and what I've been thinking about lately is Bitcoin as a spiritual path toward a certain state of spiritual consciousness, which is something that's always been in the mind of all humans throughout our existence here on this planet. We have always either been in accordance or in discordance with a spiritual presence, and Bitcoin is now giving us that ability to achieve a spiritual harmony that was only touched upon infrequently throughout the past and has been tough to sustain. Obviously, with religions and various religions, the idea is to make a spiritual connection. But the problem with religions is the same problem you have with fiat money, in that they're centralized. And anytime you have a centralized organization, you are not availing yourself to the benefits of having a decentralized paradigm or decentralized system. And so I recently talked about my experience in Alcoholics Anonymous, for example, where I'm celebrating 36 years of continuous sobriety in AA. And AA is kind of decentralized spirituality, is what I've come to understand, because it gives everyone the ability to access what's called the higher power at any time, but there's no intermediaries. It's not centralized. You don't go to a church, you don't go to a priest, you don't go to a rabbi. You can have that direct conscious contact with God. And that's a decentralization of spirituality. So it takes religion out of spirituality the same way that Bitcoin takes the state out of money. So there's, I think, a great similarity between the two. And I think the two actually work in concert in a lot of ways. That Bitcoin...
All right, enough of that. As you can see here, spirituality, Bitcoin. He's learned a lot through in comparisons and comparing Bitcoin with spirituality and religions and a decentralized religion and then spiritual. Okay, because it's spooky, but it don't stop there. Here's another one. And the reason I'm highlighting all this is just because these are things that I pay attention to, because I'm witnessing the cult formation behind Bitcoin, and it's a booby trap. But then again, not everybody want to listen. So here's the next one. Here, listen to this one.
Satoshi is going to be, one of the greatest human, he's just one of the greatest human beings ever. I mean, he's almost like a Christ-like figure in my view. I mean, in terms of what he created and gave to us, because it's going to have that large an impact. So, my view is just forget about the price, buy what you can, sit back, enjoy your life, and try and tell other people. Because again, to get to where we want to be, we have to get a consensus of the people to see what we see and to understand that sound money is the answer.
See what we see. So my, Lawrence Lepard, so I put, I got a whole angle to combat all this, but I do that on Twitter for those who follow me. But anyway, so we had Michael Saylor, Max Keiser, Lawrence Lepard, 3 individuals. These are all 3. These are all within the last 4 or 5 days. I've grabbed all these. So the reason I bring all this up is just because it's clear as day to me how the Bitcoin narrative has been deliberately placed into society to distract and divert attention off of what's really going on. And the fact that you have all these prominent speakers here captivating the audience with this philosophical, universal, elegant speech of man that's leading a lot of people astray. People who are now placing software code on a pedestal in front of them, and they're ultimately formulating a theology, a philosophy, and a world viewpoint, a paradigm around computer code with narratives that is unstoppable. It can't be unrolled. It's God sent. It's math is universal law, and all these narratives, and it's leading people astray. People are being deceived, thinking that this is going to save them financially speaking, when it won't ultimately. But then again, it's the fact that it has become an idol for a lot. And then I think about the fact that, Mike, you talk about gold and silver. Gold and silver is a monetary tool placed here by God that we have used as a medium of exchange throughout history. It's before me, it's going to be after me. It's eternal. It will be on the streets in the New Jerusalem at some point. And it's good to say that in God's kingdom, the kingdom of God, which is coming through the millennial reign, there's going to be a single currency of some kind. I don't know if it'd be digital, paper, whatever. It don't matter. But it's not the all be all. It's just something to be used, not to be worshipped. And that's my whole point in sharing with you these narratives given by these Bitcoin influencers, because people literally are being sucked into a spiritual dark place thinking that computer code, gold or silver, anything is going to save them. Only Jesus Christ would do that. And then once you're in relationship with him through being saved by grace and through faith, now as a kingdom citizen, now you have access to all the resources God has provided for us to use and take advantage of in this life and in the one to come. So long story, long-winded rant there, but these are some things that concern me, and we're almost an hour, so well beyond my normal time limit here. But this is what's happening, man, and it concerns me because a lot of people are being led astray. So once again, I just feel called to share my opinion on things and hopefully get your take as well. And yeah, this is what's going on, man. So anyway, for those who have enjoyed the rant back and forth, appreciate you for joining me. And if you have not, hit that thumbs up button. And also for those who are still around, might be new, might be old to the community, let me remind you of some resources that are available for those who are interested in connecting with us. Let me get myself together here last little bit here. Let me just share with you some resources for those who might be interested in taking advantage of it. So beneath this video here, the Dollar IQ quiz, 10 simple questions make a world of difference, basically highlighting the monetary gap we all had at some point when we didn't know the difference between fiat and sound money. Take the quiz, you'll be blessed. And then also there are 3 monetary steps there to savviness. Take them and you'll be better off than the average majority. And then you'll be more dialed in to handle the days ahead, financially speaking. So take advantage of that. Links in the description. And also for those who are interested, I partnered with Colonial Metals Group, a way of taking your retirement portfolio, placing it in a self-directed IRA that's available for those who are interested. So links in the description, colonialsmetalsgroup.com/RTD. Fill out a quick survey. You'll get a chance to speak to the experts and ask questions as to how you can maneuver and think outside the box when it comes to taking care of your financial future via self-directed IRA. So once again, links in the description, check them out. And also for those who participate, and if you qualify, you get a chance to add to your stack as a part of their special opportunity they have for people. So check them out, links in the description, all the information you need. Give them a call as well, ask some questions, and yeah, just get your questions answered. That's all it's about, people, and to take action accordingly. So with that being the case, that's all she wrote for this live stream. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry about the problems and hiccups, but hopefully I'll work out the kinks. But be blessed, be safe, and I will see you guys later. Peace.